Hi, I'm Justin Boyd.
I'm Brittany Pacheco,
Tristan Jones.
and we are the Watchers in the Basement.
Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today to discuss the 7th episode of the HBO series The Last of Us. The episode is titled Left Behind. Let's get our overall thoughts before we dive deep into this excellent episode of TV. Brittany, what are your overall thoughts of this episode?
I mean, I think you just said it well. It was an excellent episode, and I liked how they structured it, where you get the quick update about what's happening with Ellie and Joel in present time, but then when Ellie's faced with a really difficult decision to make, she reflects on her past, and that past is very heartbreaking. She experienced a lot of first, and then it's just ripped away from her within minutes. It's intense, y'all. I mean, I feel for her. I have a little bit of a better understanding as to how Ellie ticks. Beautifully done episode. And I know Tristan has copious notes to share with us on this episode.
Another, like you said, Justin, an amazing hour of television, just beautifully stunning, visually, performance-wise, the writing, the storytelling, a lot of the subtleties are starting to pay off so big in these last few episodes from what we saw in the first. So like, just think of so many things that we saw, like the knife, that the camera makes sure to show on Ellie's nightstand, the pun book, like all these things that come off as, I know there's been a lot of complaints about, I don't say a lot of complaints, I don't say that. There's been some complaints or some critiques about how, like, there's just certain details that just haven't been like fleshed out, right? Because there's so much work been done on fleshing out the characters that there's like little bitty details. But I've always believed, and I've been confirmed, that as we go through the season, a lot of those things that kind of maybe seem rushed or whatever will pay off later in the season. And we're seeing it, like, there's so many details, right? The subtleties, like when Ellie, and I know I'm jumping back and forth, when Ellie tells Tess, like, hey, my friend, like, she kind of vaguely talks about that night in the mall, like all these things are being paid off, right? And if you're not paying attention, or if you're just kind of taking those as like throwaway lines, there's no throw. I guess all that to say, there's no throwaway line in The Last of Us. And this last night was another example. Storm Reed, I knew she was only going to be there for one episode, but I knew she would kill it in that episode. Bella Ramsey with performance of her life, excellent hour. And I can't wait to talk about, all the different aspects of this episode.
Yeah, it's another great one from my perspective. This show really does everything well, but I think the way they've played with time elements and like time jumps have really done that very well. And the way that episode 6 ended, where Joel is obviously in a very bad place physically, to start episode 7, where we see that Ellie has somehow made it with Joel to like an abandoned home or something, and they're set up there. And then in that moment, when he's looking like he's about to die. By the way, Pedro Pascal's not in this episode for very long, but he really plays a guy who looks like he's about to die very well. Like, it was very believable. You're like, this guy might die. Like, I mean, obviously he's not going to. He's the main character.
Considering Oberyn's death, this is probably
good point. Yeah. But the thing is, like, for in that moment to then have a flashback episode where Ellie thinks about what's happening now, and it makes her think about what we see in this episode, that's such a perfect time for the showrunners to like show us her backstory. And because up until this point, we know stuff about her, but we don't know a ton about her. I think this is the right time to just have a full blown Ellie episode.
And Justin, you asked me a few episodes ago, it may have been off mic as well, I don't remember, but you asked me specifically about the pace, and how close they were, or are they in the right pace for where the story is? And I told you, I think I was like, I'm pretty sure, I'm like 80-90% sure that they're right on pace where they need to be. If
Yeah.
I've known that there was going to be, like, I've known for sure that there was going to be a flashback Ellie episode, I would have told you 100%. Because right now it lines up perfectly to where I think the story is ending into this season. So yeah, they knocked that out the park.
That's very cool. Yeah, I mean, we only have 2 more of these episodes to go, which is kind of crazy because I feel like it just started, like, and it's in the way this show is paced, like every week we learn a little bit more and I just get more into it. I think it's so well done that it's gonna be a bummer when it ends. But I mean, it's been a great first season. So back to the start of this episode, like I mentioned before, what's interesting about this episode is we get to see what Ellie's life was before she began this journey with Joel and before she was immune. And what actually comes into play in this episode, we'll touch on that here in a little bit. But like I said, we see that they're in this abandoned home and Joel looks like he's about to die. He tells Ellie, like, you have to leave me. Like, go find Tommy. You'll be safer. And that's when she gets this flashback to thinking about, when she was back in this like Federal school.
Well, even before that, like, Joel literally pushes her away.
Right.
Like, literally, like last episode, he tried to emotionally push her away.
Mm-hmm.
And like this time, he knows, because of how connected she is to him. Mm-hmm. He knows the only thing that she would understand is like, hey, like a violent, push, like, go, like, I need you to leave because I can't fathom to think about, what this life is going to be like if I'm gone. So yeah, he literally, that was a physical violent push because he knew that was the only way that she was going to leave.
Right. So Ellie thinks about she flashes back to where she's back at the school and she's like in a gym class and she's running around this basketball court and this girl Bethany tries to take her Walkman. They get into a fight and then we get this principal's office kind of scene. And Brittany, I'll let you. What did you think? Like, what we know of Ellie in the story so far, how does that track with the person she is in this flashback?
I think it's 100% just the Ellie that we've come to know and the Ellie that we see in this flashback. You see her a little more structured in the sense of, because she's grown up orphaned, going to a Fedra school. They've been fed this information about what Fedra's doing is good and helping people and blah, blah, blah. Whereas the Fireflies, they're the bad people. They're terrorists. They're here to, fuck you up kind of thing. Shout out to our friend and fellow watcher, Amber, in the chat. She, Tristan, you were talking about details earlier, and she said she loved pointing them out herself. And also Bethany. Fuck that bitch. So, I think that maybe the only difference is that because when Ellie is in this kind of principal office setting, she's kind of like, oh, great, I'm here again. Like, just put me in the hole. Like, I know what I did. This, by the way, for her to like beat up this chick who has to get 15 stitches. Damn. And that's because she didn't have her knife on her either.
Bethany's a head taller than her also, just by the way, at least.
So much respect to Ellie. Short people gotta do what you gotta do. Just saying. So when the principal or officer, whatever his title is basically telling Ellie, like, you're smart, like, you're so smart, you're stupid. Mm-hmm. And I think that really rings true. Because even later on in the episode, we're watching, John and I, and he makes a comment about, like, it bothers me how much she just doesn't know. And we'll circle back to that, but I'm like, but she hasn't experienced things anyway. But this officer is telling her, listen, you've got two paths. You've got two routes that you can possibly take. You can keep doing the same stupid shit that you've been doing all along. This is where you're going to end up. You're going to end up as did he say a grunter? Something along those lines.
Yeah, you can be a grunt or you can be like a leader. Yeah.
Yeah, you can be a grunt or you can be a leader. You can go down grunt path where you're not going to amount to anything. You're going to have bad food. You're going to be on patrol, blah, blah, blah. Whereas if you're a leader, you're an officer. Hey, you don't have to go out on patrol. You don't have to endure the bad food. You have great living quarters and what have you. you know, and you can boss the Bethany's of the world and tell them where to stick it, you know? So, you know, he appeals to her. She's 14. She's impressionable. She doesn't want to be bullied. She is just trying to survive just like everyone else. So I think in many ways, again, the Ellie that we've come to know and see, the smart assness and whatnot, she's always been that. She's always been that way, even within Fedra.
Exactly. And at this point in the episode, we're seeing an Ellie who she's her roommate and her best friend, who is obviously a very pivotal character in this episode. She's been gone for 3 weeks, right? And we learn this person's name is Riley, as Tristan mentioned, played by Storm Reed. And Tristan, I want to ask you about this first. How I understand, like in the story in the game, Riley is a DLC content, downloadable content, an additional part of the game. How does that line up with like what you saw in the game as far as what we see in this episode?
Well, I've never actually gone through, I was actually going to go through the gameplay on YouTube, but I've never done the Left Behind.
Okay.
I didn't even know there was, you know, until
right
after I'd already played the game, whatever. But I've
Spoilers.
read, yeah, I've read enough about Left Behind to understand. But there are some slight, I guess, deviations from the game from what I've read and understand. I mean, hell, Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin said it on the podcast. But Riley sneaking into Ellie's room, that's exactly from the game. And a lot of that dialogue is the same. We don't really get a lot of deviations until we get to the mall part.
Okay. And then just like, what are your thoughts on how Storm Reed played this character, which I feel like I've seen her in something, but her name is not familiar to me.
Her debut was in 12 Years a Slave. She was a little girl. She's also been in the Suicide Squad. She's been in A Wrinkle of Time.
I saw her. It's called Euphoria.
Euphoria, yeah.
I haven't watched Euphoria. Yeah, that's another HBO hit show. Yeah,
that's where I know her from. You know, she plays Zendaya's sister on Euphoria. And her performances on that are amazing. Like the emotional range that she has she's a prodigy for real.
And the showrunners said that they needed to find someone who could match that of Bella Ramsey. I mean, Bella's got great range as well, and that was showcased in this episode. So to have someone who could like match her, but then kind of step it up just a little bit. Man.
Yeah. So what I love most about Storm Reed in this episode as Riley is her ability to demonstrate what you just mentioned, Brittany, about being able to stay a level above Bella when she needed to. So it shocked me how believable it was, even as much as we know about Ellie so far, that Riley was able to give her like specific commands, like turn this way, go through the room, wait, go. And it's like, okay, right? Or like, hey, you're going to say no, and then you're going to say yes. She said no. She said no. So yeah, like, and it didn't really take much prodding. And everything that we've seen about Ellie so far is that she needs a lot of prodding, you know, for somebody to get her to, you know, not necessarily submit, but just kind of agree to do whatever someone's asking her to do, whatever. So Storm Reed had to play that off very well. She had to like kind of subvert everything that we know about Ellie as a character in one episode, right? Just not only, like I said, match Bella Ramsey talent-wise, but have Riley overmatch Ellie, right? And that's just not something we've seen a lot of. So she was amazing. Like going from, you know, demonstrating this semi-authority over Ellie to also demonstrating romantic feelings for Ellie. And it's kind of weaving back and forth between these things. Also demonstrating a little manipulation that I didn't catch until like the second watch on some things, but Storm Reed was amazing, like just from top to bottom. Again, what we've seen with Henry and Sam, we saw with Bill and Frank, it takes a lot of talent and dedication to a particular role for you to make us care about you in one episode. And like I couldn't really enjoy the episode the first time like I wanted to, because my heart was jumping out of my fucking chest. Like I know something bad is going to happen. It's just like I'm waiting, because again I didn't go through the Left Behind DLC, so I just know something bad is going to happen. That's it. Like, that's all I know. And so I was trying to enjoy it. I enjoyed it a lot more on the second watch. I'll say that.
Yeah, and I think it's cool. The Left Behind DLC, obviously Left Behind is the title of the episode too. I think that was cool how they did that. But as far as my view on Storm Reed, the way how she played, like, thrown into this episode, it's a 1-episode deal, and the way she plays somebody that, like, not only do we learn later that Ellie has feelings for and that they're mutual, but the way that she plays a person that Ellie looks up to, and it's believable, which that is probably the best part of her acting, is that this feels like somebody that Ellie does look up to, much like, she looks up to Joel now, in present day. So I thought that was an incredible way she portrayed that part, because I think that'd be tough for most people to do that, to jump into this episode and really feel like you're a best friend, and also you're someone that this person will follow. So that was well done. So where does she, follow her to? Well, Riley invites Ellie to basically like one night on the town, right? It's basically
Best
like this
fucking night of her life.
right. It's basically this elaborate date night in a way. And the first stop is the mall. So I don't know about y'all, but I am a fan of like dead malls on like YouTube. I don't know if anybody else watches this stuff, but I think it's endlessly fascinating when people go to these like malls that are run down, out of business, and that they're there, and people get in there and they oh, this used to be a Kmart here, and behind this wall there's a Burger King that was like walled in. Like, I love that stuff. I think it's fascinating. And the thing is about me, like, if you know me, I don't like to shop. Like, I haven't been to a mall myself in a couple of years. When I do go to the mall, like, I map it out. I'm in and out of there real fast because I don't like to shop. But I love the dead mall principle. And to bring the dead mall to this show and make it it's an infected mall, obviously, because it's in the QZ zone.
Wait a minute, before even that, because you keep saying the word dead, and we're skipping over the dead body that they encounter prior to the mall.
Yeah, there you go. Talk about that, Brittany.
Yeah, that was interesting, because they're just having to make their way across rooftops along Boston to get to said dead mall, but they encountered this corpse in a body in a building. I'm sorry, that Riley had previously been to, and I don't know, was he like infected, and there was pills and there was alcohol, and then they take the alcohol and they start drinking from it. I'm like, if he's infected, do you really want to be doing that?
I don't think he was infected.
Okay.
Everything about that kind of was not foreshadowing, but kind of hinting towards he meant to do that.
I'm just saying, because there was stuff across his face, and I don't know if that's just because he was a junkie, or you know what I'm saying. That might very well be. Regardless, don't drink a corpse's alcohol.
Yeah, I was like, there's no chance I would drink that.
Didn't do that at all. Yeah.
Never.
The question is
also
like,
COVID.
Well, yeah, but I mean, this is 03 or whatever. No, this is like
no, it's not. It's now.
Yeah, it's now.
It's now.
Oh, that's true. It's now. Okay. But it's now, like, in this world, like,
PSA, just don't do that at all, people.
Yeah. But Yesenia in the chat brings up a point about, they mentioned that the dead body wasn't there. According to Riley, it wasn't there the day before or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of strange, because it looks like he'd been dead for a little while. Like, to have your face look back like that, it feels like he was there for a little bit longer than a day or so. But a little bit. So let's get to the mall.
We go to the mall.
Yeah, the mall. So the mall, I think the mall set looks awesome. I think it looks, I mean, they actually did use part of a rundown mall, from what I understand, like in Calgary. That's what they used. But
it totally reminded me of parts of the Galleria.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. So, like, let's talk about this. We live in the Houston area, all three of us do. So let's talk about, like, what's the QZ situation like in Houston at this point? Is the Galleria in this shape? What do y'all think?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Is the Galleria, is it 3 levels or is it 4 levels?
3 levels.
3 levels. Okay. It's been a while since I've been there. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's 3 levels. It's, for those who are watching, listening, Galleria is bougie. All right, that's all the bougie shops are there. You have your Chanel, you have your Louboutin, you've got all your designer high-end stuff. You've got like toy stores and not so high-end stuff, but it's basically bougie. So if we're ever in the QZ, that place is going to be ransacked like up the ass. let's just be real.
And it's going to be crawling with infected.
Crawling.
Oh my God, crawling with infected.
Can you imagine the infected on the ice rink? Like just
I think they've got to do season 2 at the Galleria
with the big Christmas tree. Think about it. That'd be amazing. That would be so
great.
Cool.
So at the mall, let's talk about the mall, but let's save the arcade because I want to talk about that separately. But let's talk about it at the mall. They're there, and the first thing that Ellie kind of discovers is the escalator, and like she's just like loving the escalator. And I guess for someone who's never seen an escalator, that's got to be a cool thing. I mean, I remember when I was a little kid, the first time I rode an escalator, it was kind of a magical moment. So I get that. There's also a great photo booth scene, and they're on the carousel. Brittany, which one of those things would you like to talk about?
Oh, goodness. I mean, Riley is going to give Ellie the 4, but technically 5 because of the escalator, 5 wonders of the mall. And that just sounds wonderful. I mean, if Ellie didn't catch on early that this was like a date, like that was your tell right there. Like no one goes out of their way like that to say, I'm here to bring you the 4 or 5 wonders of a mall, like especially a dead mall at that. And then walk up to Victoria's Secret shop and say, oh, I'm trying to imagine you in this, rinky, like little piece of lingerie kind of thing. Come on, that's a big tell. But I honestly forgot because it's been a while since I've been to a mall as well. I forgot that carousels are like a thing inside malls. I mean, I thought that was a really sweet moment just because Ellie, and this is kind of going to what John and I were talking about earlier, how he said, it bothers me that she just doesn't know anything. And it's like, well, to Ellie's fairness, she's grown up not knowing what it was like before this whole, apocalypse broke out and not going to malls and things like that. Whereas Riley, we learned did have a family that died in assuming, during this apocalypse. Whether Riley is old enough to remember, and she probably isn't because she says she's 17, she at least had family who could tell her what it was like before. And she would know what like these type of stores were and the purposes of malls and things like that. Ellie literally just has no clue. She only knows what Fedra has been feeding her for the last 14 years. So to see everything from Ellie's perspective as brand new, the escalator, like she wasn't sure how to get on well, let's face it, no one really knows how to get on an escalator without feeling like they're going to fall. But like, it's just very refreshing. Like I've said this numerous times on this pod, seeing everything through Ellie's eyes, like kind of warms my heart in a way, because you then kind of think of how many things do we take for granted because we have the accessibility to it and deal with the things every day. She's never seen these things and doesn't know. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack with Ellie and going to these different wonders in the mall. But I really enjoyed the carousel scene just because it's very like sweet. It's very romantic. It's very like, I don't know. She really enjoyed it. She's like, I want a magical horse. She's a bit drunk at this point, probably, but like, she's enjoying her time with her best friend.
And did you notice the music that was playing?
Yes.
Oh, I was about to do a whole thing about the music.
Copious notes.
Yeah, Tristan, tell us about the music in this episode.
Oh my God. So, I mean, starting starting from the beginning, when she's running in the gym before Bethany snatches a Walkman off her head, we got Pearl Jam, All or None. And the thing that struck me was just the lyrics. Like, right before it gets cut off, it's a hopeless situation, and I'm starting to believe that this hopeless situation is what I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Right. But I try to run on. It's all or none. All or none. All or none is a great way to describe Ellie, is as a character. Like, she's all or nothing. Right. Here's a selfless confession leading me back to war. Can we help that our destinations are the ones we've been before? Like, all of that just kind of struck me as a characterization of Ellie, about kind of like this, he said, hopeless situation. Think back to when she's talking to Captain Kwong, and he basically gives her two options, and both of them are shitty. It's like both of them are really shitty, right? Just one comes with a few more perks. And so like the music, I think, truly captures that. When she's coming down the escalator, we get Take On Me, right? Aha. And again, the lyrics, we're talking away. I don't know what I'm to say. I'll say it anyway. Today's another day to find you, shying away. I'll be coming for your love. Okay. Like, is this not kind of foreshadowing, not just foreshadowing, like demonstrating or illustrating where her relationship is with Riley and how they both have so much unspoken, to say on so many different fronts. But there's this inevitable like romantic passion between them, right? So like I just thought that was I mean, even later we get the Etta James version of I Got You, Babe, like
which apparently is straight from the game. It's the same version from the game.
Straight from the game, right? And it matches. I mean, we'll talk about it when we get there more, but it definitely matches like the vibe of where they were, but it also serves as like a great contrast to what happens immediately after, right? So yeah, the music on this, I mean, as usual, like as we've seen all season, from Depeche Mode to Linda Ronstadt to it's
yeah, they've done a really, really good job with that. And I think, if y'all remember, before the season, they had a trailer. And I think they've since taken it down, but it had the Aha song, Take On Me, but it was like a more modern kind of deconstructed version, like slowed down a little bit, that kind of like a haunting kind of version of that song, which that was a smash hit song. Like when I was a little kid, I remember it was like one of the first movies I saw the video for, which if you haven't seen the music video for that one, definitely watch that, because that's like a very artistic, like it's this person's drawing all these characters in this music video. I think it was like one of the VMAs like in 80s or so, 89 or 90, maybe it was before that. I don't know, but
it was born in 89. So
it was just, it was a smash hit song, but to hear that, to hear it like broken down, like that version that was on the trailer they had, which people were saying that it was taken down because they had plans for that song later on. Obviously, we see the song in this episode, so
that was still a great song to like bring you in. I mean, that song is just legend. Yeah. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
who doesn't love that song?
It's super cool. I want to talk about, this is probably I always loved the arcade, and I've never really been all that good at arcade games, but I always think arcades are cool. I don't know how many of them are going to be around much longer, but they found one in this mall, and they go and play Mortal Kombat 2, which is a game that, is on a poster on Ellie's wall. And so first off, my first question for y'all, if we're playing Mortal Kombat 2, who's your character? Brittany.
Sonya Blade.
Sonya Blade. You knew that real fast.
I used to play it all the time with my brother on Sega. So yeah, like
Scorpion.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good one too. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I was more of a Street Fighter kid as opposed to Mortal Kombat, but I was Ryu and Ken and Chun-Li all day long. But for me, it's probably either Scorpion or Sub-Zero. I just like their the aesthetic of those. Yeah. So
when you could get the combination to make the Sub-Zero, the ice come out of his hands, it was awesome. Yeah.
What a time to be alive when that happened.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Mortal Kombat was definitely like one of those, like Mortal Kombat and NBA Jam were probably the two biggest arcade games of my lifetime. Like that was like prime. Like I was like 10 or 11 when those games kind of came around, and it was like those were like, I mean, those are still kind of groundbreaking games even today.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that you have a hit video game featuring another hit video game that's not owned by the same companies, like that's
right.
That's crazy for this era of any kind of IP, but for them to do that, I thought that was like super cool. And, obviously this game, Mortal Kombat 2, came out like in the 93, 94. So the fact that Ellie has that poster on her wall in her dorm, I don't think that was obviously her poster. It was just kind of there. But for her to finally play that game is kind of a cool moment. And the fact that they go through all those coins, and the fact that Riley had it planned out, and she had she'd already broken into the coin machine. She had the tokens or coins ready to go. Pretty cool stuff.
And another callback to episode 3 when Joel and Ellie come across the arcade before they get to Bill's place. And Ellie is, obviously the game doesn't work. So Ellie is, trying to play and she's all excited. Like, hey, she says, I have a friend who knows all about this game. And she talks about the character who can swallow you whole and spit out your bones. Like, that's all the way back from episode 3.
Wow. Yeah.
And we get to see that.
Very cool.
Wow. I forgot about that scene.
I didn't catch that.
Fast.
Yeah. No,
it's Tristan.
It's like you said earlier, Tristan. Like everything in this show, like there's no wasted space.
There's no wasted space.
It's gonna lead to something. They're gonna call back to it.
And I don't think it can be any wasted space. Like this is a show about a post-apocalyptic world where every moment, honestly, in the show is tense because at any moment an infected can pop up. At any moment, an enemy, a raider, or whatever, like some faction can pop up. Like you have to be on alert for supplies. Like it can't be any wasted moment because I don't know how many wasted moments there are in that world. Honestly, you're either working, you're patrolling, you're stealing, selling, like. There's just not much time to waste there. So yeah. Every detail matters. In the game, every detail matters. Like I played it and then I watched the gameplay years later, like honestly, like a month ago, and I'm just seeing like all the different stores that I didn't go into because I was so focused on the mission. But like I could have gotten some more ammo here. I could have gotten some more stuff to make a pipe bomb that could have helped me kill that big bloater that took me a week to beat, then so it let me know, like, even in the game, it's the same way. Like the game kind of conditions you to understand that there's no wasted time and nothing can be wasted.
So in the game, do you go to the arcade and try to like get money from the machines?
You don't, but apparently that's in the Left Behind DLC.
Left Behind DLC. Okay. That makes sense. Okay.
Did it hurt anyone else when Ellie commented on the dollar bills on the floor saying, "No, not that useless junk," and I was just like, ah!
I know.
It's useless.
I mean,
it
hurt me.
It's an unrecognized currency at that point.
I know, but it hurt me nonetheless. Also, have photo booth strip things been $5? Like that to me just seems expensive. Just out of sheer curiosity. It's been years since I've done anything like that. I think the last time I did a photo strip was, I don't know, 2008. So
I did one at one of my best friend's wedding
a
few years ago. But also remember it's Boston, so
that's true. That's true. But I thought those little bits, the carousel, the photo booth, the arcade obviously was a big win for Ellie because standing in front of it and see all the neon lights and she's just looking at it and she's like, Riley, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It's just so sweet. I loved it. I love seeing
Ellie's like me. She loves views. She's a sucker for a good view.
It's just seeing her innocence, like obviously she's gone through a lot in her 14 years, but just to see life, what could have been, what was through her eyes is just, I don't know. I enjoy it.
Yeah. So after the arcade, they find their way to a Halloween store where they
there's a fight.
Okay. Tell us about that part.
There's a fight because Riley, you can obviously sense the tension between Ellie and Riley, and Riley finally has like this I guess you could say come to Jesus moment when we're seeing that Riley's been staying at what was it, a taco place, and Ellie's like, "Are you gonna make tacos?" It's like, girl, you wish. Also, best tacos are here in Texas. Y'all come down. Anyway, so Ellie finds like the homemade, what is it, like a pipe bomb kind of situation. I'm not quite sure what it's called. Yeah. And the truth comes out about Riley. It's already been known that she's joined the Fireflies. Ellie and she kind of go back and forth about whether or not that's the right decision to join the Fireflies, because Ellie's been told this, and Riley's saying you can't believe everything you've been told, and you also don't know everything. Like, it's okay to not know everything. And when the come to Jesus moment happens, it's Riley telling Ellie, I'm leaving. I'm being sent to Atlanta. That's where they're going to post me. And this is me saying goodbye. So Ellie, of course, is very upset. She's conflicted. She presumably leaves the mall, but then she doubles back. She's like, God, I gotta go face this. And then you hear screaming.
Yeah.
You hear screaming. You automatically think
There
it's
we go.
Riley.
Right.
No, it's Riley's last wonder of the mall, and it's the Halloween store with the mechanical, what do you call it, skeleton that's screaming out of the grave.
Yeah, no, that's right. So, and then from this point, this is when she mentions that, hey, this is like Riley mentions to Ellie, this is her last night in Boston. Or was that was when the fight, right? They talked about.
Yeah.
And she also explains to her that, Ellie says, you could stay. We could be leaders. This is what the principal character, I guess he's a captain, what he told her. And Riley says, well, they told me, I'm going to be a sanitation worker, sewer worker,
sewer
or whatever.
patrol.
Yeah, sewer patrol. And it's like, so you kind of see like why she's ready to move on, whereas Ellie's being like kind of tapped to be like maybe one of the leaders. So,
and also like there's so many breadcrumbs in this episode that I did not catch on the first watch that let us know that Riley had other intentions outside of just trying to like romanticize Ellie. Like there's a lot of breadcrumbs to let us know that she also had been staying there for a while. Like the fact that she had all that planned, like that takes days, maybe weeks or so. Just knowing the complete way there, like breaking the coin machine, like there's so many things that Ellie, I guess, was kind of slowly catching on to. Because she asked, like, how many times have you been there when they were at the arcade? How many times have you been there? And Riley kind of, again, great performance by Storm Reed. She's able to kind of convey, like, hey, this kind of white lie so innocently. Again, I didn't catch that on the first, but I've been here about a few times. It's like, what? Also, when they see the dead body at the front, like she said, hey, he wasn't here yesterday. Like there's a lot of breadcrumbs that are letting us know that Riley had been there. Obviously we don't know that she's stationed there until she says, but she had been there.
Yeah.
So like that kind of throws off like the intentions, because I understand why Ellie would be upset. Like you frame this as doing this for me to celebrate, and now it's just really like a goodbye. And also you tried to recruit me without letting me know, and like all these things. So yeah, I get why she was pissed.
Yep, for sure.
So now, like Brittany said, we're in the Halloween store. They're dressing up in let's see if I remember right.
A werewolf head and a
clown
head.
Good
head. God, no.
So they're dancing on top of the counter, having a good time.
I got you, babe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then they kiss. So we're basically seeing like Ellie's like first love and her first kiss here in this Halloween store.
Literally after she takes off a mask.
Right.
Both of them have masks on, right?
Yep.
They've been trying to hide themselves and hide their feelings. And Riley is hiding. She was hiding her intentions and all these things. And Ellie, again, Bella, I think the showrunners mentioned it, but like where I was able to tell how she was feeling, what her face was looking like, even when she had the costume on. Right. That's great. Man, that's great.
Just the body language behind it. Like, yeah, she's enjoying, spending time with Riley, and they're dancing, they're twirling, and then she just kind of like, it's just kind of swaying. And then you feel that build up, she wants to do something that she doesn't know if it's going to be reciprocated. And she begs Riley, like, don't go, like, stay with me. And Riley's like, okay, like they're going to figure it out. They're going to figure out like what to do. Because at one point, it was during the arcade where Ellie says, hey, I need to get going. Like, I got to get up early. I got to make my bed, whatever. And Riley's like, you've got hours. Like, it's fine. Like, you see how Ellie wants to kind of like pull herself back, and she's just so unsure how Riley's going to react whenever Ellie decides to act on her feelings. And when she does, she immediately says sorry, and Riley kind of smiles at her and looks down, and it's like, sorry for what? You know, and I just thought that was such a beautiful, sweet moment between these two, who obviously care for each other far more than just being best friends. I mean, the level of love that's shared, and then almost immediately that's going to be ripped away.
Yeah, you can't have a good moment in this world for too long. And one of the infected somewhere in the mall just kind of awakens. Like maybe just, from hearing them
have a fucking concert.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, they were making a little bit of noise. So in
Yes.
fairness, like, you're a little bit quieter. Maybe the infected guy just keeps on.
The thing with the elevated hearing, yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Mhm.
But was this one like this infected still had eyesight, correct? Or it seemed like it did.
Yeah.
Because it
I
looked
think
like
he
it
did.
kind of knew where it was as it was chasing them.
Yeah, I don't think it was a clicker.
Not a
Yeah.
full blown clicker. Okay.
It's a runner?
Yeah, it's somewhere. I think it's somewhere between runner
A
and
runner and a clicker.
yeah.
Because he had the broccoli head, as I like to call it, broccoli head. But yeah, his eyes were still opened, and obviously hearing was still intact, because that's what stays.
4.2 speed.
Yeah, very, very quick.
Good Lord.
Yeah. Crawled out of there like nothing. I'm like, oh hell.
Oklahoma drill. Like she knocked down the aisles, and he went around that shit.
Kept going.
Yeah.
Ray Lewis.
So the infected attacks them, and Ellie's able to kill it using her knife. But of course, there's a struggle, and we find out that both of them have been either scratched or bitten. And they both kind of realize at the same point. And, Ellie freaks out because we see, she looks at her arm, and she's got the bite marks and the blood. And then they kind of look at each other, and you see, Riley just like raise her hand up, and she's got the bite, and like what a crazy moment for them both to think that it's over. Like they're either going to die or turn into monsters themselves.
But to show the difference between the personalities, right? We talked a little bit of how Riley, she matches Ellie, but she's also like above her in a way. I mean, she's also 3 years older than her, 2 or 3 years older. So level of maturity is just a little bit more. But you see with Ellie just freaking out. I mean, she channeled her inner Lyanna Mormont when she saw the White Walkers, right? Just screaming bloody murder, basically. Just no. And then she takes a bat and starts smashing the hell out of those counters. And Riley's just very calm. She's just she's there, but just there. Like, she's just calm. She's not reacting at all the same way that Ellie is. And she's sitting there as Ellie is smashing everything. And then when Ellie's done with that, she says, there's more things over there that you can smash.
Yeah.
And I liked how the showrunners said it in the inside the episode about how Riley has experienced real loss. She's lost her parents. She knows what's coming. She knows what to expect. Whereas Ellie just freaking out, rightfully so, because she doesn't know what loss is like and what to expect. So when Riley begins to say, here are our options, one's an easy way, but I don't like that way. And then tells Ellie, whatever time we have left, be it, 2 hours or 2 days, like, I don't want to lose out on that time. And I'm like, really? Like, really? We're going to do this here and now? Really? Really?
She says, and saying, like, let's ride this infection out. She's like, just keep going.
Yeah.
Right. And I think this connects back to what you were talking about, Justin, with, the flashback that really Ellie is having here, right, to this moment. It's caused by, or is precipitated by, her thinking that she has to make this decision between, do I stay or do I go? Right? Do I break off from this journey, this long journey that, you know, I've been on and we've been on, right? Or do I, you know, chart a new course, go out on my own? And is going out on her own, is that forward, all right, or is that backwards? We don't know. But like, I think she ultimately makes the decision that going with Joel is going forward, right? It's to keep going. It's
Right.
the imploring that Riley is doing, like, hey, keep going, don't give up. Like she makes sure to mention that, like, we're just not gonna give up, just gonna keep going, right? And that connects all the way. Everything connects back to Joel. This is all, everything that we're seeing from their past is like, it's leading them to this moment, to each other. And it's informing how they engage with each other emotionally, physically, whatever. Like it all leads back to Joel. Like the moment with Riley was beautiful because it allowed us, like you said, Justin, to see Ellie as just a kid, right? Living a kid's life, and like the same social angst that kids have at that particular time, being 14. Oh my God. Like I remember being 14. I would never do that again.
Yeah, no.
So, but it's all in service to understanding Ellie's larger purpose. And at the moment when we flash back to Ellie, you know, with Joel, like she's taking the holistic view that Riley was taking after they got big. Kind of going back to what you said, Brittany. Like she's able to kind of take a broader view of the moment because she's seen more, experienced more, just has a wider perspective on these things. So she's able to kind of look at it like, hey, we're all going to die, right? Everybody's going to get bitten and infected at some point, right? Yeah. And that allows her to be able to accept this loss, which is not only her life, but as far as she knows, the only person she loves and cares about in that moment, Ellie's life. And there's one more thing, like, again, the foreshadowing, brilliant, right? Like there's 2 times. So Riley asks Ellie in her dorm, like, hey, do you trust me? Right? And Ellie asks, like, should I trust you? Like Riley's like, hey, yeah, you should trust me with your life. Right? And again, in the mall, when they're walking, there's another reference to like trusting with your life. I'm trusting you with my life. Like, so I think that also plays into a little bit of Ellie's frustration because she literally put her life in the hands of somebody else. And as far as she knows at that moment, she was wrong. And I think she's built up such a wall that she inherently knows not to trust too many people. Even Riley, who she has a crush on and literally is in love with, it's hard for her to trust Riley with those feelings. And Riley, frankly, it's hard for her to trust Ellie with the truth, right? So like, I think a lot of that rage that Ellie's feeling is not just the fact that, you know, she thinks she's going to die, but she's disappointed in herself for trusting.
Yeah, that's a good point. And so as you're kind of saying, like Ellie is definitely like motivated by the moment with Riley. You know, she realizes that, you know, Riley didn't give up on her. And so Ellie's not going to give up on Joel. And then so she, you know, we flash back to the present. She's like, you know, now she's like, okay, I've got to figure this out. She's like scouring through, you know, just rifling through drawers and all, you know, stuff, cabinets. She finds a sewing needle and she begins to stitch up Joel's wound. And it's pretty,
but for him,
looks very painful.
But for him to allow her to do that, because he, like Tristan pointed out, he physically pushed her away to say, go find Tommy, leave, basically. Because he figured he's going to die. He doesn't want her to see this. She comes back with a resource to help save him. And she laces her fingers with his. And that to me was like, I trust you in what you're doing. Right. And
he grabs her closer.
He does. And like Yesenia is saying, the hand holding moment before the stitching, like you have to trust that person to know, like, okay, this is gonna hurt because there's no sedative, you know, there's nothing that's gonna help with the pain, but I'm still gonna let you do it. And to entrust that much in a 14-year-old is incredible. But I think more so for Joel is because she came back. She came back for him, even though he said forcefully, go away.
And everything that we've seen from Joel and Ellie, like the buildup of their relationship up to just now, episode 7, because I don't think we're going to see a lot of Joel in episode 8.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
I think you're right about that.
I think we'll, little bits and pieces like we saw in episode 3 and in this last episode. But everything, the buildup of their relationship is, if it ends the way I think it's going to end, which is logical end, like it's going to pay off so beautifully. Like I'm saying this as a gift to y'all. Like it's going to pay off so beautifully at the end of this season because, and I say beautifully because some fucked up shit is going to happen.
Oh, hell.
And it's going to cause you to look at one of the characters a different way, like in a negative space. But the thing that's going to justify what they do is this relationship and how it's been built up over the course of the season and how strong of a bond they've built to this point where Joel trusts her to operate on dirty needles in his infected wound. Because that has,
you got a lighter, like sterilize that shit, you know?
Oh man, like rub some sticks together, do some shit. Like
also, like the thread is probably a lot thicker than what's used for actual stitches. So that is
way thicker. But it's gonna pay off. It's gonna pay off in such an amazing way, and I could not be more satisfied with the pace of this show, with how it has captured like the game's emotional. Like it's the first emotional game I've ever played in my entire life. Besides, like 2K, but that's a different emotion.
and I keep forgetting that this is actually based off a game. Like that to me is just wild. Like for a game to convey that much emotion and story, wow.
The game will make you drop a tear. I'm telling you.
But if you didn't know that it's based on a game, you wouldn't really know. I mean, yeah, if you listen to the companion podcast, obviously, or if you did a Google search, but like if you're just a show watcher, just watch it on HBOMax or HBO if you have cable or whatever, you can just watch this and go, "This is a great show." And then someone tells you later on, "Oh, it's based on a video game." You're like, "Oh, I didn't know."
It would make sense, like them jumping across the rooftop. Like that's definitely a video game.
That's a video game thing.
A little music, kind of like dainty music that's playing during that time, but
right.
Sorry.
I could not be more satisfied with this adaptation. I could not be more.
So, I have a question with what happens. We see what happened. Riley's sticking with Ellie. This is back in the flashback. I wonder, are we ever going to see how Riley came to her end? And also, Ellie was bitten at the same time. When does she learn that she's immune?
I wonder. Okay, so to answer that question in a way, I'm going to answer it with a question. Is it needed to see the demise of Riley? Because one could deduce that if they're going to stick together, they're going to stick together in that mall. Fireflies already know that that's where Riley was posted. And when perhaps they see that she hasn't reported to them for going to Atlanta or whatever other duties she may have, they may come looking for her, come to discover the truth, and either she's already dead or they take care of her and they see that that bite did nothing whatsoever to Ellie. And that's how Marlene was able to get, quote unquote, her hands on Ellie.
I do think we'll see that. I do think we'll see that. And again, I have this isn't something that's shown in the game. Like, and I don't even think there's dialogue to kind of walk you through it, to provide some type of context for it. But I do think we're going to see it, because do we need to see Riley's death? I don't think so.
No,
right?
But you need to see.
I do need to see what happens between that point and when Joel and Tess meet Ellie, or at least get some dialogue to kind of fill in that gap. Yeah, I don't need to see Riley's death. Again, either Ellie had to take care of her,
right,
or like you said, the Fireflies had to take care of her.
I mean, because Riley did have a gun.
Yeah.
And
Right.
Ellie at one point, I think, said she knew how to use a gun.
Yeah.
And I hope it's not to.
I really hope not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not that I really want to see Riley die. I just obviously if Riley dies and they're still together, then Ellie maybe just by process of elimination, she's like, well, I'm still here, so maybe I'm immune or something. I don't know. Like if if they're there for 2 weeks or what? It wouldn't be 2 weeks. If they're there for a couple days and then Riley's dead. Also, does Riley become an infected person? I mean, I don't think we're going to see that, obviously, but like that's to me that's a valid question.
But
Yeah,
then
I
also,
just
remember when we first meet Ellie, she's with the Firefly. So
yeah, she's with Marlene.
how does she get?
So
Does she,
Right.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm thinking Marlene and or the Fireflies come
Yeah.
looking for Riley, and then when they find out the truth or see that Riley's already dead, but Ellie's still there, that's how they take her, and that's how they
Yeah.
keep her.
that sounds plausible. So
I'm guessing Marlene, we've got to have some Marlene backstory or something on her coming up either at the end of episode 8 or big part of episode 9, or I mean, certainly in the second season, because like this is a character who we've seen very little of. What we've heard referenced, a little bit more than we've seen her, but obviously is a crucial character.
I think you'll see a lot of her in the finale.
The finale. Okay.
Yeah. Marlene will be back.
Yeah, she has to be, I would think.
It's like the end of an Avengers movie. Marlene will return.
There we go.
Pretty
so
sure.
Before we look ahead to episode 8, any final thoughts on episode 7, Brittany?
I mean, it's a beautifully done story. I love how Ellie had more or less like a solo sort of episode focused on her and her backstory and how and why she ticks the way that she does, and understanding her hardships as well. It might not quite be on the same level as Joel, but at the same time, they're kind of opposite sides of the same coin.
Yeah, for me, like this episode, like I said, it paid off so many smaller details from past episodes. It provided, I think, to me, like the final linchpin that needed for that bond between Joel and Ellie. Like understanding Ellie's backstory helps us understand why she looks up to Joel so much, why she trusts him so much, why she admires him so much, and she just feels protected by him so much. It just, like I said, just provided so much necessary context for that relationship and where it's going. And I mean, Storm Reed, we have to give her flowers. I don't think we're going to see her again. She was amazing. I expected her to be amazing. And like she delivered. Both Bella and Storm like completely delivered. Hell, again, Pedro, again, for the 15 seconds he was on camera, like just still being able to convey so many emotions through his face, just like, man, all I remember him saying is go find Tommy, go north. Like, but that's it. That's the end of his dialogue. And he still managed to like play a huge role in this episode because it's easy to believe that, okay, now I trust you. Joel lives by a code, right? Like everything that he does is based on like this internal code. And part of that code is setting something free when you know that you can't serve that thing anymore, serve that person anymore. So he set Ellie free and she came right back. And so to him, like, again, that's only going to strengthen that bond like tenfold, which again is going to make that finale. Ooh, buddy. Love this episode. Even with the tragic end, like the true mark of the great episode, especially in this series, is that I want to watch them again. Right? I definitely want to watch it again. So rewatch number 3, 4, 5 is probably coming before Sunday. Like 10 out of 10.
Man, I don't know if I could rewatch the Sam and Henry episode. That was rough. My God, no, I don't want to go through that one again.
So well done, though.
It is. It really is. But man, like that was tough.
I think I've seen that episode 4 times.
You mean 42?
Might be 42.
So as Yesenia said in the chat, I can't wait for the next episode. We all feel the same.
Ooh, buddy. Hey.
Let's look into the. Yeah, go ahead, Tristan. Tell.
Oh my God.
You blew up the chat last night with you. Like,
Oh
hey,
my shits.
you ready?
He said it's gonna be a banger.
Yeah.
Oh my God. The only thing I can divulge about next episode is we're gonna see more Ellie by herself.
Yeah.
And this is, you know, obviously Joel's incapacitated. He's out commission for a while, but Ellie's going to, again, the payoff. So much of this season has been Joel taking on the role, even inadvertently, of like teaching Ellie a lot of these survival tactics and just things to know, right? We saw when Joel fell asleep and Ellie took his patrol. Those things pay off, and they have to pay off, right? And so we're going to see those things pay off a lot in this next episode. Oh man, the David crew, man.
So yeah. From the trailer, the little preview, the teaser for next week, it looks like a religious group, a religious sect has like found Ellie, and as part of this group, we get is the series debut of Troy Baker. And Troy Baker is famously the voice of Joel in the video game series. He's also the host of the Companion Pod. So I'm excited to see that because Troy Baker, he's been the voice of many video game characters. And that's kind of his lane, video and video games and animated stuff. So I think it's really cool that he gets the chance to do live action stuff, especially on a series that he's so intertwined with. So I'm excited to see that. It looks like he has a pretty big role in the episode also.
I think the woman that plays Ellie in the game is going to have some role.
Yeah. She has a big role coming up. I spoiled myself on Wikipedia. I wish I hadn't seen that, but
me too.
Why would you do that?
I was looking for information about certain episodes, and I just like scrolled down, and there it was. So
I saw it on Twitter on accident. It was in the comments. I shouldn't even been looking at the fucking comment section.
Oh my God, y'all don't learn.
Well, the Troy Baker character, like if you told me weeks ago who the character was, I mean, you tell me the character now. I don't know the character, right? But the woman Ashley Johnson's the actress who plays Ellie in the video game. Her character is a key character to the key characters is basically so like when you hear the name of the character or the title of the character, you're like, okay, this is an important character. Whereas Troy Baker's character, I'm not sure what his name is. I can look it up now if I wanted to. I don't think knowing his name would.
I know who Troy Baker's character is.
Okay, yeah.
And that shit is,
Tristan knows all things.
We're getting a very action packed.
It looked like it.
If you want some action, and I mean, not necessarily with just infected. If you wanted some action, if you've been waiting for some action since episode 5,
right?
Episode 8, penultimate. We know what HBO does with penultimate episodes.
Yep.
Of course. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks like in this episode, we're not worried about the infected, the people or the monsters in episode 8. So yeah, it looks good.
Joel did warn Ellie about that when approaching either was it Kansas City or wherever they were going, that the people are pretty much your worst enemy at this point. So they got lucky with Jackson. Was it Jackson that they went to in Wyoming, found his brother? They got lucky seeing the humility in those people. But you throw in a faction such as this one, it doesn't seem like it's going to end well for anybody. I'm just saying anybody.
No, and one of the characters seems like he's like the leader of the group. It wants Ellie to join, whereas the Troy Baker character is like, no, like she's another mouth to feed.
It's like this is God's will, and
yeah,
I'm like,
if she dies, it's God's will. So that looks like a little interesting dynamic. Of course, why does the character who seems like the leader, why does he want Ellie to join? There's probably nefarious reasons for that, I would think.
Probably.
Very much.
Yeah,
so.
One would assume.
Yeah,
very much so.
So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. I know we all are. So now you know what we think about, or we thought about this episode. We want to know what you think about it. And Brittany, how can people tell us what they thought about this episode?
So we encourage everyone to join us for the live chats, just like today with Yesenia, also with Amber, who joined us earlier in the pod. We appreciate both of y'all being here and sharing your thoughts on this episode. Marcy. So yes.
Marcy was here too.
Oh, Marcy too. Yes, I'm so sorry. I completely bypassed her name. our bad. My bad. But yeah, for sure, join us for the live chats. But if you're watching the replay, don't forget to leave your comments down below, as well as like this video, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel as we are on the road to 500 subscribers. Also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That's at Watchers Basement. Use that same handle but for a hashtag to help grow our audience, to tell your friends, tell your family, tell your coworkers, clickers, bloaters. You get the point. Tell all the infected people out there, listen to our pod. Lastly, follow us, but check out our audio podcasts on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Give us a 5-star rating.
Appreciate it, Brittany. Also, we have started another busy week for the Watchers. What do we have coming the rest of the week?
So for the rest of the week, we have another episode. I believe it's the finale episode, if I'm not mistaken, Tristan, for 1923.
Yes, it is. Long live Spencer Dutton, man.
Hey, all right. So join us tomorrow. That's Tuesday, February 28th at 5:30 for the finale episode of 1923 with Tristan, hopefully Frank, and Marcy. Wednesday, I'm very excited for Wednesday because we are going to be talking about something very near and dear to my heart, and that is Harry Potter, y'all. We're talking about the very first movie. That's Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Joining us will be Amber as well as Justin. And Friday, we're wrapping up part 1 of season 4 for Netflix U.
It's a lot of watching, a lot of basements.
We don't have basements in Houston, except for at the workplace.
Yeah, that's where we got the name. So
Yep.
Yeah, another busy week. Looking forward to it. I will be joining the Harry Potter thing. I'm not a Harry Potter fan, but I'm a muggle for sure. I'm definitely the muggle on the podcast. I'll try to bring that muggle struggle energy or whatever they call it. I'll do my best to fake it till I make it, I guess, or whatever. So please join us for all those great pods. We appreciate everybody who watched and listened to this one. So for Brittany, for Tristan, this is Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week, or see you later this week. Have a good night. Bye-bye.